Into the slope command. For this reason, they needed to pick in advance the right place. The main aim for the Greek theatre was the acoustic. So, you know, it had to be of the right shape, the right proportion. If on one side and the mountain on the other side, there's no space for an amphitheatre. The only thing they can do is exactly being able to spot potential danger approaching. And also, they had a system. Have you watched Lord of the Rings?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sorry, it's a brave comparison, but you know the way they got like fires to warn each other. I don't know if you can see it, you can maybe spot the lights, like the bulbs. Yes. We can see well the monastery. Can you imagine how well you can see the theatre from that point of view and the coast? The view is, yeah, it's the immediately which is old and which is new. That's the idea, because today archaeology, you know, it wasn't done for the people, it was done for people with a passion for it, you know, just a little game. Try and think of something else underneath or behind. Besides Taormina, I have to say, compared to other places in Sicily, we've always, through history, been quite lucky because we never experienced any of the major natural disasters. Compared to other places, you probably know that the southeast of the island of Sicily was completely rebuilt after a terrible earthquake. Yes, you will learn about, so I'm not going to spoil. Hopefully I will try not to spoil. Mari, tu rimani lì, Mari! No, vieni qui, no.
Fate una foto, io voglio
Prendi le pietre, sì, lo sto prendendo.
You must imagine the limestone region first, okay? You must imagine the prisoners in the cave.
Che gigante. If you put fire near the hay, either the fire or the hay are going to burn.
counselor of Charlemagne. Without anybody knowing, he betrays him and all of the other knights. And this is something that his family did since generation. So he models the face of the puppet with the clay, and he poured chalk on it to make the cast, the negative. Through this puppet here, as its eyes and mouth to burst in light when they enter the stage. These are light bulbs actually, and the plug is around the tail. And this one has its head that falls down if the knights cut it with the blade. The real one is this. This dragon here is capable of throwing real flames. And I'm not joking. From the pipe that it's placed inside the mouth, it was covered with Greek sludge. Greek sludge, if you don't know, is a self-flammable material, like mud-like, which is called like this because it was used to do the Thunder of Zeus in the Greek theater.
Da lui e che noi ti annunciamo. Dio è luce, in lui
e volere il bene dell'altro, se ci facciamo la guerra l'un l'altro, se non agiamo per il bene comune, ma solo per vili interessi personali.
How do you say in English? Love conquers all. All is pan, Eros is love, the superiority of the spirit, of the instinct that can be the don't forget, because it was so ugly, so smelly, that by jumping out of the bushes, he scared everybody. Okay? So the fight, the Greco-Roman fighting, the wrestling, Pan and Eros would fight, had no doubt it would make Pan win over Eros. That's a capital, part of the capital of a column. And imagine an attendant out of the door. When he saw someone approaching the latrine, he would run into by sitting on one of the seats chosen for people coming. He would warm the seat out because it was marble. It was not very fair to make the most important people sit on a cold seat. So sitting on it would make it get warm. Once it was warm enough, he would give the seat to the person. And then after all, he would take care of the guest this way. If it was a family latrine, you would use the woolen cloth to wash in the running water.
From the side, if you count the beginning and the end, you have odd, because the short side is even. So at the beginning, it was a very simple structure, not monumental. But time passing, they disliked having one side of the temple looking different from the other. You can see the flowers, see the drupes. Some of them will become olives, get bigger, and become olives in September, October. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the trees we see here are almond trees. Agrigento is famous for the Almond Blossom Festival in February. The columns, the temple. So they spray the temples, with special resins to seal. It is in a very good shape, as you can see, probably because the Christians for a long time, 1300 years, maintained this temple as a church. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is another refinement in the frieze. The frieze of a Greek temple is the second band of blocks upon the columns, made up of triglyphs, the three stripes, the rectangular grooves, and metopes or metopes, the empty squares between two triglyphs. Look at the position of the triglyphs upon the columns. On the second, third, fourth, and fifth column, the triglyph is centered upon the column. Look at the second column on the left. The triglyph above is placed right in the middle. Can you see that? The problem for the architect were the corner triglyphs, the first and the last one. He didn't know where to place them. At the beginning, they were placed in the middle like the others. Imagine the last triglyph in the middle, the corner one. To the left of it, there was some empty space when it was in the middle. Now, that didn't please the eye to have all the uniform squares and then some empty space at the end. So they moved the corner triglyph out to the edge, the corner triglyphs out to the edge, to meet the triglyph from the other side. See, there is no keystone in the arch. Usually the arch is a keystone that holds everything together. No keystone means they were carved out later, and it was a solid wall in the temple. So that's the only evidence left. It's like Syracuse, you remember the inner room of the church. It was the cella, the cella of the Greek temple. So Now they are here and they make a light milk with low cholesterol.
And they have curvy horns.
And they have, twisted horns, curvy horns. They were part of the traditional landscape of the Valley of the Temples, then on the verge of extinction, and now they're bringing them back. So, ladies and gentlemen, here there was the temple to Heracles. The temple was described by Cicerone, the Roman orator. Famous, in the speech against Verres in Verrem. Verres was the Roman proconsul in Sicily. Cicero came here to find evidence against him. According to Cicero, inside that temple there was a statue of Hercules made by Myron, the sculptor of the discus thrower, Discobolus, a very famous sculptor. Verres sent thieves at night to steal it. While they were trying to remove it from the pedestal inside the temple, the noise woke the people of Agrigento up. They came here, thieves were beaten up, and Cicero ends his tale by saying to resist Verres was Hercules' 13th labor. The column, a solitary column, the one that was standing when Mr. Hardcastle came. It had been re-erected a century earlier. So that's north and that's south. You get an idea of the width of this temple. This was twice bigger than the Temple of Concordia. In front of us, the ruins of the temple to Olympian Zeus. Zeus worshipped at Olympia. They wanted to outdo the Greeks in Greece. So they built a bigger temple, the largest Doric temple in the world. It was here. It was 185 feet wide and 370 feet long, the size of a football field. Only 5% of it is left. It was unique for its architecture. In the museum there is a model. They think that in the 5th century BC there were 80,000 inhabitants in the polis of Selinunte. Not to give more importance to a period of a phase in the history of the building. And as we go up, you feel that we are going up. So the level of the peristyle of the colonnade here was lower than the level of the space between the columns and the beginning of the inner room. So here is the beginning of the cella of the inner room. You remember there were 2 columns. You remember the square pillars, ante, we saw at the Temple of Concordia. The inner room wall ended with a square pillar called ante, and that's the capital of the square pillar, there and there. Here in this temple there is like a closet at the end of the inner room. There was a small room where they kept the statue. There are big stones ready to be transported, and the measurements and the weight of those stones is the same as the big stones in this temple, 50 tons heavy. So they were able to carry 50 tons of heavy blocks from the quarry to the site of the temple, to drag the blocks from the quarry to the site of the temple.
How did they get it on the wooden frame?
In the darkness by the light on the statue of the god. The god probably was Zeus because of the size of the temple.
And what is interesting in this incredible tree is that instead of growing vertically, it develops horizontally. So at a certain moment the branches become too heavy and they start creating these aerial routes, which are at the beginning very thin, but then, look, they meld with one another, you see, and they form new trunks. We are in 1300. A rich family of merchants, the Abatellis family, leaves Tuscany and comes to Palermo. World War II, we are near the port, and so the area was completely bombed, including this house. Before I started talking about this work of art, I must tell you that nothing I'm going to say can be taken for sure. What makes fascinating this work of art is that still today scholars keep contradicting each other. For instance, one of the many problems which has inflamed all the ones who studied this painting concerns Picasso. Generally, it is dated 1441. As you all can see, it is a fresco painting. And I remind you that the technique of painting fresco is very complicated, because when it's a painting on wall surfaces. When the plaster is wet, the colors do not look the same as they look when it hardens. It's an oil on wood, which came to the museum from a private collection in 1906, and it is by Antonello da Messina. Antonello is the only major artist of 1400 to be born south of Rome. So Antonello is interested in the psychological condition of this woman. She has been told, you will be the mother of God. She's not saying, let thy will be done. She is pondering these things in her heart.
The church as we see it here started in the 1300s for sure, and then many additions all the way to our days. We have the float with the image of the Madonna of Custonaci, the one to which the community turned different times. 1624, which again they called on her for the plague. 1628 for rain, plague, rain. And there they have an organ. Up there you see it's made by the Molla family from Torino, dated 1895. Looking at Gothic. Then we move into Renaissance, Baroque. Most of it, as you see it today, with these is what we call Neo-Gothic.
So from 800 to 1000 we are Islam. we forget Greek and we speak Arabic. We forget to be Christian, we become Muslim. Not all of us do that. All over the world, there is the majority which follows, the minority which reacts. And there was a small group of Sicilians who reacted. They did not want to become Muslim. So what did they do? They left. They left Palermo. They went to live in the countryside, in the mountains, and for 200 years they kept alive the religion Greek Christians and the language Greek. After these 500 years, we have the Normans. All of you hear me, right? When King Roger started building this, 1130, he had a political problem to face. What a kind of church he was going to build? A church where Eastern Christians could pray in Greek, or a church where Western Christians could pray in Latin? Think of it for a minute. This was a political problem because the king was Western Catholic. The Sicilians were Eastern Orthodox, the ones who had gone in the mountains. So you understand that a choice would have meant a mistake. Now Roger built this wonderful chapel as, to use a modern word, a political compromise. Because this chapel is not Latin or Greek. This chapel is Latin and Greek. Let me show you. Don't look at the decoration. Just look at the plan behind me. The plan, the church is rectangular and it is divided into naves by rows of columns. That is the Western Basilica. Have a look behind the royal throne. You see where the book is, there was the throne of the king, all Islamic decoration, and notice, if you look all around, there is one stone besides the marble, white marble, which is used more than others. And I'm referring to this maroon stone, reddish, which is much more precious than marble. What you see, probably you heard of it, what you see is porphyry, the imperial stone, P-O-R-P-H-Y-R-Y, porphyry, imperial stone, which form this, the name of this structure is Muharnas, this honeycomb structure. In other words, this ceiling will never collapse. Unless the walls fall, it will remain there. And I'd like you to notice that all around, you can see it here because it's close, there are words written in Latin and words written in Greek, because this chapel was used for the Latin and for the Greek rite. But have a look at the ceiling. Have a look at the ceiling. The ceiling is decorated by 2 rows of 8 pointed stars. Can you see them? And if you have a look at the edge of the stars, like a frame, like the edge, can you see that there is a writing in white? That writing is Arabic. Where else in the world you find such a sophisticated style in the civilization of open-minded rulers, Latin, Greek, and Arabic, in a chapel? This is the Church of St. Catherine of Alexandria. This church is the only left, perfectly kept, of the 79 churches attached to convents and monasteries we had in Palermo up to World War II. 79. One wonders, but how does it come so many? How does it come so wealthy to afford decorations like this? The answer is very interesting. The answer is this. For about 300 years, 1500, 1600, 1700, all the money, all the power in Sicily came from the land. So
So the market literally starts over here, about 70 yards over, and then it comes this way where we are. They have the watermelon. Look at these beautiful eggplants. Anyone wants to try some watermelon? Because the ricotta, if it stays fresh, within 2 or 3 days, it will become acid. You have to throw it. In order to extend the shelf life of the ricotta, they dress it and they bake it. They salt it so they can age it, and that way they can preserve it for longer time and not waste the fresh product. Un poco più grande, meglio 2 pezzi invece di... So it's a deep dish pizza. It's dressed with tomato, with breadcrumbs. They also have varieties with the anchovy. He's dressing it with olive oil and oregano on top. And now he has a paper for each one. Please, you'll see how soft, how fragrant this pizza is. I'm sorry I don't have a glass of wine to go with it. It would be good. This guy has all the cheap cuts here. You see, this is something I would never eat. Their lung, their feet, yeah, it's amazing how some people are brave to eat that. He's got
a meat called guanciale.
Guanciale, yeah. Guanciale, which is the cheek, yeah. That's just... You see how busy the market is. It's extremely, every day you come, it's like this. Especially in the morning hours, but also in the afternoon. This guy has really a nice setup here in front. On one side he has the chickpea fritters, which we have tried the past days. He has the potato croquettes, he has the rice balls that are ready to go in the fryer. So these are with meat, tomato and peas. These are just with prosciutto and mozzarella. The potato croquettes, the chickpea fritters, and then look what he has. One of the most typical sandwiches the Palermitani eat. I've had one gentleman in 20 years try it because his grandpa was Palermitano and he wanted to know what his grandpa had grown up eating. And that is the spleen.
Oh my.
They chop up the spleen and they cook it in this big round silver pan with some oil. Once they've cooked it enough, they'll dress the bread like this. They'll dress it with ricotta cheese and a sprinkle of lemon. Palermitani love it. It's sweet, as you would say. It has a sweet flavor. In the past, the poor folks, that's all they could eat. The good cuts would go to the aristocracy. All the cheap cuts of the animal would go to the lowest class. All the toss out, all the throwaway. And that has still remained within the recipes in the poor people's. The spleen, the aristocracy would not have had. The lungs, the kidneys. On this other side, he has the seafood. So he's got ready diced to be fried. He's got calamari, he's got bits of cod, he's got shrimp, he's got little squids. And then over there at the end, he's got octopus. That's a big thing that Palermitans. Okay, well, we go a little further in this direction. Piano piano, slowly we go ahead. There are definitely many more stands. This other guy's family ran their shop here, and it's been this way since memory can remember. They're frying the panelle, the chickpea fritters. They'll stack them up in a sandwich with potato croquettes. You make a big mound in different layers of chickpea fritters, potato croquettes, and a sprinkle of salt. You put it in a bun and you have a mid-morning breakfast. Sto spiegando il lavoro che fate per dire che state lì con molta pazienza a fare... È vero. Look at these beautiful sardines. Look at them. They're nice and firm. Look at the silvery color they have. They still have the blood around the cheek, the gills. Those so fresh, incredible. To take a few of those home and make a pasta like we had in Syracuse on Sunday, or to deep fry them, batter and fry them. Oh, look, they have the first apricots. Look how beautiful they are. These big red ones. Look at that. $2.50 a kilo. They're a little bit expensive because they're the first ones.
L'arancina, ragazzi, ai signori gliela diamo?
Vi ringrazio. Hanno mangiato colazione in albergo. Allora, forse gli prendo un po' di frutta qua davanti. Now, if you come here where the garlic vendor is up here and you take a left, I'll show you a sign which I've always am happy to see. It's wonderful, this old church facade in the middle of a Palermitan market in the deep south of Italy. This is fantastic. I love Palermo because it doesn't dress up for the tourists. This is a city that lives its own, whether you are here or not, this is Palermo. Many cities in Italy have propped up to impress. They have everything perfect for the tourists, everything's tended to. But we live Palermo in its good and its bad sides, its ins and outs. So they have small baby strawberries that are more expensive. These are less available. And then they have larger ones from Marsala, the town in the west. I'm going to try and get his attention as soon as he's cleared these two people. You see the drama in the faces. You see the intensity of their expressions. Look at that. You know, he could be in any movie. Any movie we want, we put him in. He would be a good character. He doesn't speak English, but he could be dubbed. Allora, ditemi voi, il signore ha preso una cassetta intera delle fragolone. Quanto gli avete fatto quella grande?
Dipende il peso.
Ha peso queste qua, avete detto?
Tutta è costata 17 euro.
Tutta la cassetta. A chilo quanto vanno?
3,20 kg.
E fatemelo un chilo. Un chilo. It's a town in the southeast where chocolate has been made. Wow, I don't know why they loud music. It's a nuisance. They love noise, you see. They love the louder and the noisier it is.
Adrenaline going.
This is the lamb meat. The lamb meat in casing, grilled. They're called stigliole. Stigliole. They are one of the most sold products in the city. All those vendors we've been driving by on the bus, they're grilling on the street, are grilling that product. It's lamb meat in a natural casing and then grilled. They may dress it with lemon. There you have a glass of beer, a glass of wine, and you have your stigliole.
Yeah.
So these are the two restaurants across from one another at the end of the market. You can imagine later what this square is going to be like in 2 hours. Troop members, they paraded through Sicily to free it from the Bourbons. Remember, Garibaldi landed in Marsala. He had an army with him, and he has one of the typical uniforms that the Garibaldi guys would have wore. Now he's got his bayonet. He's got even some... Oh, now he's pretending he's going to throw it down, you see? His wife sometimes appears, and they play an act together. So he's got St. Rosalie's sign. He's got the Italy flag, the Sicily flag. He's got some cannons. His house is a little museum up there. His wife is called Anita, you see. He jokes with his wife. He calls her Anita, who was Garibaldi's wife. Grazie a voi, mettiamo qualcosa accadente. Grazie a voi. You take a picture of him if you want. It's